Free State, a province of diverse landscapes, vibrant wildlife, rich culture, and a rich history, beacons visitors with its unparalleled beauty. Its wildlife, including the iconic Big Five, roam freely in protected reserves. Free State's cultural tapestry weaves together a myriad of traditions and flavors, creating a unique culinary experience. The province's past struggles for freedom and equality have shaped its resilience, a true testament to the human spirit.
Besides the beauty of our province in South Africa, primary agricultural inputs have experienced price hikes of over 90%, with fertilizers and agrochemicals becoming more expensive due to the war in Ukraine. This has caused increases in wheat, maize, and sunflower oil prices in the African continent, while exacerbating food insecurity, particularly among vulnerable households already struggling with increasing unemployment rates.
In the Free State, the agricultural powerhouse of South Africa, the production of maize, wheat, and sorghum accounts for a third of the nation's grain production. However, crop farming in this region faces significant challenges due to the prevalence of arenosol soil. The soil type has limited water holding capacity, nutrient retention, and organic matter content, making farming a very difficult task.
Additionally, the situation is worsened by the use of traditional crop farming methods that fail to maximize productivity and profits. Consequently, the Free State province has poor soil structure which contribute to a decline in food production, lower yields, poor quality crops, and limited product diversity. These challenges contribute to the complex landscape of agriculture in the region.
The challenges of many families and individuals in the Free State are similar to Hapilo's reality, a crop farmer in Lakeview. Hapilo pursued crop farming as an entrepreneurial strategy after losing her job during the COVID-19 pandemic. She found herself fighting battles of a declining economy, soaring prices of synthetic fertilizers, and excessive government regulations. To her dismay, these perennial challenges persistently undermined her standard of living and quality.
The business model of this project comprised of two pillars, namely worm farming and crop farming. The crop farming component involved beneficiaries using land and water as their livelihood assets to operate their registered cooperatives. Having acquired farming knowledge and inputs from us, our beneficiaries cultivated potatoes on 2 hectares of land and generated 10,000 rands in revenue and reinvested it into the cooperative for operations.
Despite these modest achievements, poor soil conditions remained a challenge. To mitigate this challenge, Vermi Village was established. Vermi Village is an Enactus city student enterprise that offers agricultural services, products, and techniques such as vermiculture and vermicomposting.
Vermiculture is a method that utilizes red regular earthworms to transform organic waste into nutrient-rich vermicompost. This eco-friendly approach enhances soil fertility, improves soil structure, and boosts crop yields, resulting in nutritionally healthier plants.
You might wonder why vermiculture. While fertilizers provides the plants with a brief boost, it leaves the soil chemically reliant. The commercial output can rise up by up to 26% when vermicompost is added into the soil because it introduces living microorganisms that break down organic matter and make it nutrient-rich for the plants.
Vermi Village Enterprise key activities include the compost production, which allows the breeding of worms, the conduct of worm farming trainings, expos and workshops offered to the university students, schools, agripreneurs, and surrounding communities. To assess the nutritional value of our compost, we partnered with the Department of Agriculture at the Central University of Technology that conducted soil samples and nutrition tests. The samples comprised of regular soil, worm compost with bananas as feed, worm compost with bananas and coffee residue as feed were compared and tested.
The lab tests revealed significant contributions of worms in improving soil nutrient content and reducing soil toxins, with notable decreases in pH and electroconductivity. The nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium levels were higher in the compost soil samples with worms. Based on these findings, the Department of Agriculture recommended that our team should utilize the compost soil samples with worms, bananas, and coffee residue for commercial purposes.
Another key activity of the enterprise, which is the flagship for this year, is the worm farming train the trainer program, which consists of bringing together entrepreneurs, local farmers, churches, non-profit organizations, university staff, and students in order to increase the number of worm growers in the region. A total of 3 training programs were run to empower people on worm farming skills.
We offer worm farming trainings at 600 rands to CET registered students and 2,000 rands to external stakeholders. Our training package consists of the provision of theoretical and practical content, a starter pack with 200 grams of worms, a worm bed, and 12 months of intense mentorship. Inspired by our entrepreneurial strategy, Hapilwe, one of our trainees, the co-founder and group CEO of Enactus Enterprise, and this is what she had to say.
I am the co-founder and group CEO of Enactus Enterprise. What we have done through farming worms is that we've used the compost in our crop production. So this means that we're now able to produce products that are organic because we would like to improve people's lives by producing organic food. What Enactus aims to do is to create a value chain, and this has helped in the process because this way we are the end consumer and we're also the farmers. And this has impacted our businesses significantly as it has helped in cutting down costs and increasing our profits.
Alongside Hapilwe's progress, we are addressing waste management in our province by collecting food waste to feed worms. This creates nutrient-rich compost that reduces waste into the landfill sites. After worm farming trained the trainer program, one of our trainees from the University of the Free State was featured in the institution's Dumela magazine, where she shared with the university community on how worm farming can turn kitchen waste into black gold.
Invitations to several provincial expos helped to advertise our program, maximize worm farming awareness, and increase market demand for our product. These worm farming expos have provided platforms to connect with entrepreneurs, farmers, youth, schools, communities, profit and non-profit organizations, while educating and empowering participants. Our enterprise was invited by the National Youth Development Agency to be an exhibitor at their Opportunities Expo Youth Day event, where we directly reached over 30 people who expressed interest in becoming worm growers. Additionally, our enterprise was televised by ENCA, one of the news broadcasting channels in South Africa that has a viewership of over 1 million.
2 churches in Bloemfontein, the Methodist Church and the Latter-day Saints Church, invited us to do a worm farming workshop, and over 130 people attended. As a token of appreciation, one of the churches paid us an honorarium amounting to 1,500 rands.
Our partnership with Interstate Bus Lines and the Community Engagement Unit of Central University of Technology, Free State, allowed us to host 2 worm farming expos in 2 communities, namely Botshabelo and Nogas Post, with a total reach of 65 people. Bedelia Primary School in Welkom approached us to improve the educational experiences of their grade 5 pupils. We responded to their request by hosting a worm farming workshop to 135 learners.
With the outcomes from the workshops, we realized that there's a need for food security within the school systems that can be mitigated by implementing school gardens and educating learners on basic agricultural practices. Our needs analysis in 3 schools in Bloemfontein, Louis Botha, Atang and Zame, indicated that the first school, Louis Botha, has insufficient food for their boarders and no land for crop farming. The second school, Atang, has a damaged greenhouse and unused water drainage system. And the third school, Zame, has an underutilized hydroponic system and a small garden.
We envisage to implement school gardening projects to increase the food security of these schools. Considering the limited financial liquidity of these schools, we approached Interstate Bus Lines to cover the cost of the vermicompost on their behalf in the next financial year.
Vemi Village prides in self-empowerment, giving authentic experiences and transforming lives of communities for the better. True to this spirit, we harnessed our training program to empower 27 worm growers to achieve social and environmental impact.
To date, we have generated a revenue of 45,700 rands. A laptop was purchased that amounts to 4,000 rands. Therefore, Vermi Village has acquired a technology asset that supports its business operations. As a cherry on top, Vermi Village was listed as one of the finalists in the Harmony Food and Health Security Challenge and was awarded a grant that amounts to 10,200 rands, creating a total income of 55,900 rands.
A life without impact and purpose is hollow. With Vermi Village Enterprise, 27 lives were directly impacted and 140 lives were indirectly impacted. Our workshop program reached a total of 135 learners and over 130 women in different churches. Our awareness program had a reach of over 30 individuals through the National Youth Development Agency and was accessible to 11,000 people through SABC and ENCA platforms. Overall, our project reached over 11,295 individuals.
By August 2024, we expect to generate 100,000 rands through workshops and trainings, directly impact 56 people, indirectly impact 280 people, and double the number of people we reach from 11,000 to 22,000.
Through our efforts, we managed to tackle sustainable development goal number 1, 2, 4, 5, 13, 15, and 17. Vermi Village created several partnerships with businesses, organizations, and institutions to tackle sustainable development goal number 17.
No matter where we are from, we all face challenges, but they don't define us. Enactus inspires us to overcome these challenges and write our own stories of resilience. This year, our 53 volunteers and 3 directors have dedicated over 4,743 hours to empower people to write their own stories, and these stories are just getting started.
Your time has expired.
Hello, team. Very good presentation, thank you. I just wanted to ask, and you did cover it very briefly, but where are you getting your raw materials to feed the worms from?
Thank you very much for the question. So every Saturday we go to the nearest market. They sell fruits and vegetables, so that's where we get most of our food waste material. And with regards to the other waste material, the cardboards we get from our school and also from the same downtown supermarket.
Business model, and I'm looking at the pillars that you've presented to us. Majority, if not all of your sales are coming from your training side of the business, but I'm seeing very little with regards to your nutrient sales part of the business. What is your turnaround point, your envisioned turnaround point where you do have income generated from nutrients, and what is your envisioned or your ideal balance between income from training and income from nutrients, because you can only train people for so long?
Thank you very much for the question. As it is indicated on the annual report, our business model is divided into 2 phases. The first phase being the conduction of worm farming trainings, and then now we are currently in the process of tapping into the second phase of the business model. We have done samplings. We have started school initiative programs where we are now going to profile how efficient our compost is. And then in the next fiscal year, that is when we'll be talking about revenue generated from vermicompost.
Hi guys, how are you? So very brief question from my end. The training. So I was asking one of my colleagues here that my understanding of training versus capacity building is that training would usually, or that word would usually be used with programs that are accredited. And I'm not sure if we have this here, but I did go over it. Is this training that you guys are offering accredited with any professional, is it the QCTO, any of the SACAs? And also I guess my brain is also trying to understand how you got to the pricing of the training. How are you pricing? What are you comparing yourselves with? What? Yeah.
Thank you so much for your question. With regards to the training, we are not yet accredited. As the judge at the back has indicated, the worm farming trainings are not something where implementing for a long term. We're actually using it so that we can get more worm growers in the region so that we can use them as our suppliers once we get into the commercial space with regards to the vermicompost, because the demand is high, but we will not be able to supply that demand on our own. So the worm growers will then be utilized as suppliers, and we'll be taking their supply and meeting the demand. Thank you.
And to answer the second part of your question, our unit per cost is 425, meaning that we are spending only 425 per customer. We are charging them 2,000 rands. And how we arrived to that, we took all the operating expenses and divided by the number of worm growers that we have trained so far.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for the presentation. I just wanted to check with you. Have you considered any technological input to make sure that you expand some of the training platforms that you've got, or some of the growth process of the project using technology?
Thank you so much for your question. We have only run 3 trainings so far, so this was part of our pilot phase. But going forward, we will be looking into the technological aspects of the trainings as well as the worm growers and how we can equip them in that regard. Thank you.
Good afternoon, team. The one question that you put right up front in your presentation was the cost of fertilizers, of traditional fertilizers, chemically based versus vermicompost. Is there any indication in terms of what the cost benefits are using vermicompost versus traditional fertilizer methods?
Thank you very much for the question. So with regard to vermicompost, you don't...
Your time has expired. Judges, please join me in thanking the Enactus Central University of Technology.